Hi, I'm Luke. Today on Out of Darts, I'm going to run you through the top 10 lean warehouse improvements we've made in 2020. For those of you tuning into my channel for the first time, I run an e-commerce business and it's essentially a Nerf mod hobby shop. We sell all the parts, tools, supplies, and accessories to modify your foam blaster arsenal. Most of our manufacturing is 3D printing and small tool use, but we're expanding to a variety of other tasks. We currently run 97 3D printers. They are all Prusa i3 Mark IIIs or Prusa Minis. And we just moved into a new warehouse about 2 months ago. For those of my viewers who are more familiar with my Nerf content, lean manufacturing is a type of manufacturing where you are looking at efficiency, waste, and hassle that's involved in producing an item. I was turned on to lean manufacturing by Paul Akers, who is now, to me, sort of the godfather of lean manufacturing. The principles come, I think, originally from Japan. I read a great book called The Toyota Way. And here in a warehouse where we are running 3D printers, it is primarily a function of wasted motion, that is moving around the warehouse too much, or moving something at a station too many times, or time itself, where we've got a process that's taking way too long. So without talking too much more up here in the studio, let's get down to the workshop floor and I'll show you the top 10 warehouse improvements of 2020. Let's get going. All right, number one is a heat gun with a foot pedal. So we used to have this style that would sit on the bench and it was constantly falling off, it was constantly moving around. I tried mounting it, but it wasn't really that convenient, and then it was also lower powered, so the longevity didn't last as long. Now we bought a more commercial heat gun that is table mounted, and it has a nice foot pedal so that you can be sitting here prepping a part, and then when you're ready, you can just hit the heat gun. And this kind of thing seems really obvious, but it wasn't until someone pointed it out to me that it made sense to make this improvement. Number two, this is a really simple one, but a bolt cutter is mounted to a table mount vise. And it was really simple to do, but it made it a lot easier. Instead of constantly having to pick up the actual cutters and grab your spring and then sort of balance using both, this way you can get your cut really easily, make your cut, and you're good to go. Additionally, when we're not using it, we put the glove over it with the glasses on top. That way it encourages you to use the right protection when you are actually using the tool. Number three, so here in our print farm where we run about 100 printers, we are constantly cleaning the beds with rubbing alcohol in a spray bottle. So the first improvement was basically to stop dumping alcohol and rubbing it. We used a spray bottle, but then you were constantly looking for the spray bottles. So a simple improvement was to design a little 3D printed hook that went into our shelving, and a space for the towel and a space for the bottle. And you'll notice that there's one on every single column, so that no matter where you're standing, even if you're in the middle of a shelf, you can reach right over here, clean your bed, put it back, and you're done. Frequently before, I would be here needing to clean. I'd have to walk 20 feet over here, find the bottle, come back. And then initially we were just using the bare bottles which you would squirt on, and you'd end up wasting a lot more of the rubbing alcohol when really all you need is a single spray. So this has worked out really simply, and it was just a very easy print to design. I think it took me all of 25 minutes to design this and 2 prints and we were ready to go. Number four is a custom pin jig using an arbor press. An arbor press is just a simple press that uses a gear to make a linear action. Our little rocket product, which is a little mini blaster, requires this 12mm pin to be inserted. And initially we were doing this just with a vice grips, but what I decided to do was build a tool to make this much more repeatable and a lot easier to do. So inside this tool there's a little magnet that will actually grab the part itself. You line up your 2 parts and put them into the device. You clamp once to put it in, move it over, all the way through. You've completely installed this. That used to take about 5 times as long, 10 times as long, and now it's much, much easier. In this same tool, we also made a tool to do the top trigger, which also has a connector like that. And then let's say you made a mistake and needed to remove it. On the back end, we've actually added a pin removal pin. So essentially this pin can push this pin back out so that you can grab it with the pliers and pull it out if you needed to swap it. But these little improvements make a huge difference in the amount of time it takes us to build these kinds of products. Number 5 is this great card cloner. We are constantly updating files here, and it's a pretty labor-intensive process if you're sitting there manually dragging files over and over. This card cloner lets you make one master copy, and then anybody can simply copy 5 cards at a time. While the actual copying speed isn't any faster than, say, doing it on your computer, assuming you have a fast reader, it does save the actual time sitting there swapping them because they go from red to green, and you are good to go. Number 6 is very similar to number 5. It's a USB hub. This is a 16-port high-speed hub, and this allows us to transfer to a whole bunch of cards at the same time. The individual card speeds of the SD cards and the USB drives are only around 100 megabytes a second, and so you're not getting anywhere near the max of your USB. But when you put a whole bunch at the same time, you can batch these tasks out, and it saves quite a bit of time. Now, I know some of you are probably wondering, why aren't you using a print farm software? We are really hoping for Prusa's software to come out and help solve this problem of dealing with all of the files for nearly 100 printers, constantly updating and constantly trying to keep everything as organized as possible. So eventually we will implement some sort of software, but right now the software and hardware solutions out there just haven't quite made sense. Number 7 is faster cards. Most 3D printers come with pretty much bargain basement, as far as I'm concerned, garbage RAM. These 2 cards that came with are Prusas. No offense to Prusa, but they're just not very good quality. Filling this up with files currently would take about half an hour, so it's an incredibly slow card, on top of actually causing some issues because I don't think these are very good memory sticks. Same thing goes with the SD cards. They're just very, very slow. If you wanted to transfer the 5 or 6 gigabytes worth of files we've got, it would take you at least a half hour, 45 minutes, and that's pretty much unacceptable if you're going to sit around and update your cards frequently. Instead, we replace them with genuine SanDisk products, and most of the cards we buy are at least 16 gigs because that's about all we need, and ultimately they're 100 megabytes a second, which is probably about a 20x improvement from these base cards. It made a huge difference in just transferring to cards quicker. This is one of our many hardware bundling sites, and here we're bundling hardware kits that go for little rocket. And one of the problems with hardware kits is that it's really easy when you're bundling a lot of these to make mistakes. And so we've done 2 things. First, they're all color-coded based on which kit they are. They have the quantity clearly labeled, so we've got strong visual controls. Next, we've got examples of the final product here, labeled in those colors. And finally, we've got a system that tells you exactly the weight of the hardware, so that when you're building these kits, you can grab them, weigh them, check them against the weight they're supposed to be, and the scale is accurate enough that even if the lightest weight item like the spring is missing, you'll know based on the actual weight of the parts. This saves a ton of time in just sitting here counting and verifying that you have all of the parts. Because the worst thing we want to do is have a parts kit go out to a customer and then they realize that they're missing one little screw or one O-ring or something that's absolutely key in getting the blaster created. Number 9 is probably one of my favorite that I'm the most proud of. This is another arbor press, and this is a station to install the magnets for our Perses lids. They feature a little ring and a lid that both need to have opposite facing magnets, and we want them to be the same each time. What I've built here is an auto-feeding hopper that reloads the magnet each time and presses it in place. This jig lets you very easily add the glue onto your magnet hole, press it in place, and you're done. When you want to do the other side, you get to simply switch over to the other product. Same thing again, we get to add glue. The magnet auto loads, we put it in place, we install our magnet, and we move on. And this makes doing these parts really, really easy, very repeatable, and saves a lot of time ultimately. And number 10, we just installed this bubble wrap holder that allows this to no longer take up bench space. What was happening before is we would have a roll of bubble wrap and it would be bouncing around, kind of moving onto the shelf, onto the table, maybe onto the floor, and you'd always have to sort of mess with it and then it would take up space. Now you can simply pull off what you need, pack it up, and continue on. Or if you're going to wrap something up, you can pull it down and wrap it as you dispense it to yourself. This way it takes up no floor space and it's easy access all the time. I've got one more bonus one for you that is something we just added. We recently got the entire team these pouches. It seems like a simple thing, but when you're constantly looking for pens, markers, a knife, a Sharpie, tape, and your gloves, it saves a lot of time just having those things on you all the time. And I got kind of sick of having all of this stuff shoved in my pockets. I would be digging in and out of my pockets, never able to find anything. This one's just made that really, really easy to access. I've got a spot for my phone, my pens. I keep the exact same tools on here all the time. They're always available. I keep a spare roll of tape. And this is sort of my everyday warehouse carry. And of course, I keep basic tools like pliers and a box opener, along with my favorite knife. But this has really been a super helpful thing for at least me, and I believe the rest of the team as well, just not having to search for those tools. Now, this is different than when you're at an actual station. We have designated tools for each station. This is more stuff that you might use in miscellaneous categories all around the warehouse. I hope you enjoyed this top 10 video. For my regular viewers, I know this is sort of a new style, so I would really, really like to hear from you in the comments. If you enjoy seeing this, it's also more of a behind the scenes look, which I think some people have thought would be interesting to see. So let me know in the comments. Do hit that like and subscribe button if you think we've earned it. Obviously, as everybody's always saying, it helps us out so much on the channel. I will keep doing this constantly because we've got a lot more improvements I've already made and others that weren't in this video, but these were some of the most pertinent and interesting for the warehouse as it stands right now. Until next time, I'm out of darts.